Can the Niners go for Watson 2021, 2022? I feel like we answered. Anyway, can the Niners go for Watson 2021, 2022, first round picks, Jimmy G and Mostert, replace Mostert with Gore on a minimum? Would you do it? Jason?
I mean, I would, but they wouldn't. I mean, I don't see them.
Houston's a team that's not going to budge.
That's the thing. So that's been my thing the entire time. I swear that I said that earlier, and you know what? I'm going to take my victory lap because I get so many things wrong that I'm going to lap up the one thing I get right. The Texans are just going to wind up keeping him. Yes. And if he wants to hold out, this is going to get ugly, where he'll hold out and lose all that money. And you know why the Texans will let it happen? Because they're a poverty franchise. Their ownership does not care about players, clearly. When you see Andre Johnson, who never speaks, tweet out things like that.
He's the greatest Texans player of all time, and he has no respect for the organization.
None at all.
It's like Jerry Rice saying, hey, the Niners are a bunch of bums. Like, ooh.
J.J. Watt, pissed. Arian Foster, pissed. Literally every single good player who's ever walked through those doors for that franchise does not like him.
Also, the only thing, you say they're a poverty franchise, they are. The only thing that keeps them semi-relevant, Watson.
Yep.
So you trade him. Now you really are the worst franchise in the league, and you're 0-16. Everyone says, what would the Texans be if Watson wasn't there? 0-16. They know that. So they can't trade him for like 2 firsts and a third. No.
So compound the Texans' stupid thought process and compound that with Caserio coming in thinking that he's Belichick and he's going to introduce the Patriot way. And if he doesn't want to be here, I don't care. We don't need him.
Yes. Exactly.
That's why I think he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't be surprised if his situation is similar to Kaepernick's in the sense where, or like you're going to have to lose a couple seasons of your career if you're that committed to walking away from the Texans, because they're going to make it hard on you, man. They might make you sit out a year or two. Like
it's all about who blinks first. And I feel like the Texans are,
they have a lot more money.
Insane. What is it? The inmates running the asylum, all these things. It's all right there in front of you that this franchise is being run poorly. They will continue to make poor decisions, and they will not do what's right for this team. And you know what else? The fan base is still going to get out there and support them. So as long as they got money in their pocket, they really don't care about doing what's right by a player. And that's unfortunate, but that's just where I'm at with it.
Also, he signed his big extension, but he hasn't gotten his big money yet. He's made $40 million in the NFL. That's great. But he's on the verge of making what, $400 million? He hasn't gotten any of that. And he won't get it this year either. The extension kicks in 2022. They have a little more than a little leverage over it. You want to get that money? Or do you want to retire at 25 with $40 million? What do you want to do?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just scared that the Texans are just going to Texan it up and they're just going to keep him there, like just to prove a point. Again, Caserio wants to. We're going to it's all about the culture. Do your job. You're not Bill. You don't get that equity when you just because you work for Bill. Bill gets that because he did it over years.
Right.
Just because you work for him, you can't just walk in and say, we're the Patriots now. No.
And that's the mistake that every single Bill Belichick disciple makes, except for maybe Brian Flores. I'm going to come in here and be Bill Belichick. No one respects you. Like, I don't know who you think you are.
And the thing with Brian Flores is that quiet confidence. Like, he's not in there with that rah-rah stuff. He's in there like he commands the room. Like, that's what I noticed in the Senior Bowl. When I was out there, dude, he starts the practice and then he breaks it down. And that's it. But everybody, when he talks, is like, you know why? Because his presence. But Matt Patricia, with his pencil in his ear, yelling all that, you don't have that presence. Your voice doesn't command the room. And that's the problem. Brian Flores is different because he embodies that defense and what they did so well, which was you never heard Brian Flores' name the entire time that he was there as a Patriots coach.
Right.
But his quiet confidence is what people are drawn to, and NFL players can smell the BS.
The final thing with this Watson thing, like in the NBA, the team would once the superstar wants out, the team always capitulates because they don't want to develop. It's a superstar league. And you don't want to get a bad reputation with the superstars. If you keep some superstar hostage, then word will get out. Don't play for them. Don't go there. And every team wants to be like, hey, we're okay. Thanks for coming here. It's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege to work with you. Any other superstars that want to come here, we're player friendly. NFL isn't like that at all.
Yeah.
So it's really more in the Texans' interest to not blink and not set a precedent and not create the impression among future players that they can do something like this. They have to nip this in the bud.
Just like Caserio. Spoken just like Caserio. That's it.
That's
man.
where
Like,
they're thinking, right? We can't let this happen.
Yep.
It's a better precedent to make him sit out than for us to blink. Sean says, aren't you afraid that the Wilson, Watson, and Rodgers situations can push the NFL to where the NBA is irrelevant, controlled by players bratting out? Wilson wants to be involved in personal decisions. Bad look for the NFL. Well, it seems to me that the NFL created this issue because the NFL keeps wanting to pay quarterbacks more money. And now they're getting into the 35, 40, 45, $50 million a year range, which is right where James Harden is, Stephen Curry is. And it's just the reality of the financial. If you pay a guy that much money, he's your team. Yeah, he's going to want personnel decisions. Yeah, he's going to want to know, have input on who the GM and head coach is because he's making more money than everyone in the organization except for the owner. So he makes more money than the GM and the head coach combined. I mean, it's just the way. It's just life. You don't want your head coach. You don't want your quarterback to have that much input. Get Marcus Mariota. Pay him $10 million. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Right. And it's funny, right? Because I'm not against that idea, right? Like if you're going to be in these, Russell Wilson's your franchise quarterback and he should be involved in that. Like, hey, look, not straight up, I don't want this guy, but hey, here's my input, right? And that's the problem with the Texans, right? Deshaun Watson didn't ask to take over the process. He just said, can you at least interview one guy for me? Can you at least interview? And they were just like, nah, don't care.
Imagine Steph Curry, like Steve Kerr retires or gets fired. And Steph Curry goes to Joe Lacob and be like, hey, would you just interview one guy for me? And Lacob goes, who the hell do you think you are, Steph? Who the hell do you like? No,
I'll never understand that.
He's your franchise. And
again, even if you don't like the guy, interview him to placate your, and then tell him that this is what went wrong. Come on,
put the guy with him so he can hear why he's not going to get the job. Put him right there. I'm sorry, Steph Curry would get this type of power on the Warriors because he's earned it and he's getting paid that much. He's a C-level employee in the organization. So is Wilson, so is Watson. Technically, so is Jimmy G, which is another reason I think he needs to go because he can't be a C-level employee anymore. He hasn't earned it. Braden says 2021, 2022 first-round picks. I love people like, no. We're going to find the correct package. Don't give up on 2022, 2021 first-round picks, 2021, 22 second-round picks. Eric Arm said Jimmy Ward, and if need be, Mike McGlinchey. Right, because Mike McGlinchey is the cherry on top that teams want in a package. Braden, I love your stick-to-itiveness and your passion, but really, Jason and I feel very strongly that the Houston Texans are basically going to spite Deshaun Watson unless there's an offer that is irresponsible from some team. And the only team that makes moves like that is the Rams, and they've already made their irresponsible move of the offseason for a quarterback. I don't see any team doing it. The Niners, it's not what they do. They traded a 2 for Jimmy Garoppolo. They traded a 2 for D Ford. They traded a 3 for Trent Williams. They're not going to trade the whole team for some guy who wants to tell Kyle Shanahan what to do.
The other problem is righting the wrongs of not drafting him, right? That puts you in a hole now. You should have drafted him is when you can build around him, right? Now you would trade for him, and now you have to try to build around him without those high picks. That's when things get a little bit hairy. So, I mean, it's just, I get scared about righting wrongs, right? Like if you missed out, you kind of missed out, but it's tough. Like I said, no matter what decision he makes, this is the most crucial offseason that he's going to have. He has to nail this one. He has to nail this quarterback. And that's when things will get hairy.
It makes you look like you have no conviction. You didn't want him in 2018 when he was sitting there, but then 3 years later, you've changed your decision 100% or whatever. You've changed your mind so much that now you have to give up 8 first-round picks for someone you could have had for 1 3 years ago. Yeah, it looks like you're wishy-washy. It looks like you stand for nothing. So, yeah, easy. It would have been easier to just trade for Stafford. But hearing that he had a partially torn UCL, hey, man, Rams.
He played through it. He played through it.
He did play through it. But again, Rams, best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, they, the offensive line is an issue. Whitworth is not there. So, but I still have a tough time thinking that this offense that was still so good with Jared Goff can't, automatically be better. But again, playing through injuries still means that he's injured. So that's a good point.
2021 will be the revenge tour for Jared Goff.
Please don't say those words. We're done.
But if he did get the last laugh, I would enjoy it. I don't know why. Just because he got discarded so hard this offseason. Like, what happened to Jared Goff is going to happen to Jimmy Garoppolo eventually. And it's going to be very hard for Jimmy. And I don't know what Jimmy's going to do about it. I don't know if he'll soldier through the demotion to Detroit the way Jared Goff is going to. And I am pulling for Jared because
they slandered him out the door. They slandered him out the door, man. Yeah,
to the point where he had to like clap back through his agent and be like, well, let's talk about Sean McVay's offense that never revolves. Like, oh, I liked it, man. I can't wait for that if it happens with Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan. We can only hope, keep our fingers crossed that only Shans delivers the way it always does with that premium content.
I'm riding with Coach. Until he's not the coach no more. So
here's how I know that you'll be. Here's when I'll know that you're off the bandwagon. When you start calling him Kyle instead of Coach. As long as he's Coach.
I'm glad you noticed that. I'm glad you noticed that because that's why I do it. That's why I do it. Because Jimmy calls Bill Coach and he calls him Kyle. Well, Kyle's Coach.
That is all you need to know about their relationship, right? When he was talking about Bill in the lead up to the game, Coach, I was like, why is this sticking out to me? What? Oh, it's that he doesn't call Kyle. Imagine calling your former coach. It's like in Cobra Kai. If one of the guys in Cobra Kai kept calling LaRusso sensei, like, no, you can't do that, dude. That's your sensei now. That is no longer your sensei. Bow to your sensei. Okay. Jason,
I'm so happy that you watch Cobra Kai. That's so funny, man.
Me and my wife started watching it a couple weeks ago, and it's a great, awful show. I mean, it's not a bad show. The fact that they got all the actors to come back and do their little parts is cool. I like it. I just wish that the show kept going on. There's a lot of great denim jackets, black ones, light blue ones.
See, I don't know if you mean that. And you know what? Me coming from the East Coast, the denim jacket's a little bit of a staple. We'll have to have a different discussion about that.
You got Tim's? You got Tim's?
Come on, man. I'm from the East Coast. Of course I got Tim's.
I got to get some Tim's because no one wears Tim's out here. It's just Vans. I got to get some Tim's.